Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. This is Alan over at PawPrint Creations 3D. And I know it's been a minute. I haven't posted a vlog or any content since, well, I posted one about a week and a half ago now, but that was footage from the beginning of December. So it's been a little bit. There have been a lot of changes going on and a bunch of upgrades and edits that have happened to our print farm and our general area. As you see, the couple of videos I filmed in this area, we got a new calyx with new storage for our filament just to help us out. There's been a lot of changes and updates that we will get into and show you guys over the next course of the few videos. But for now, this is just going to be a video on 10 tips and tricks for 3D printers, specifically for craft shows and events, going as a vendor, specifically for 3D printers. A lot of what we're going to talk about will cover the vast majority of vendors as a whole, but there are specific things to 3D printers that we've learned over the course of this past year. And we are still within our actual first year of doing craft fairs and events. So by no means am I an expert, do I know everything, but these are just things that I've learned over the last year that I think will be helpful to you guys, especially new people coming into 3D printing and wanting to do this as a business or doing different events and craft shows coming into the middle and coming out of January, as the craft shows and events are going to start picking up here in the beginning of February. There will be a couple of videos coming out as well talking about our new print space, some of the upgrades and new items that we've added to our print farm, along with I'm also going to be doing a video where we're recapping our final year and how we got into the printing space and doing our events and such. So that will all be in future videos, but let's hop right on into the first tip of this video. All right, so for tip number one is to familiarize yourself with your local events, the local areas where you live and you reside, where events may take place. This is something that we didn't do initially going into our printing journey and business and doing craft shows. So I wish we would have done this. We didn't actually. The only thing that we did do before is we used to go to farmers markets often and see some vendors there, but that was way before we decided to get into the 3D printing space. So we never took our own time to go and check out the areas, especially when we moved into our new space here, into the new house. It lets you get familiar with different events, especially if they're annual or farmers markets that happen more often. You get a chance to get to know the people in charge, like event coordinators, different people hosting events. And these are usually times where you can start connecting with other people, so that way you can have more events long-term as well. Especially being a 3D printer, this will also give you a chance to see if there are other local 3D printing businesses. And if there are, just trying to break ice with them, getting to know them. There's been a few events that we've been at where there's other 3D printing businesses and there's this awkward amount of tension between us and the other 3D printing people. There have been, though, very good interactions that we've had and that we become friends with other local 3D printing businesses and vendors. So we kind of hop ideas off one another. But another reason why I recommend doing that, especially to get to know other 3D printing businesses around you, is to avoid selling the same items. The last thing you want is for everyone to have the same Zal 3D, Cinderwing, STL Flix, Flexi Factory items, and you guys are undercutting each other's prices to just make a sale. What happens there is that you guys are losing out on money, and then it just builds a very uncomfortable and unnecessary tension between yourself and the other vendors at the event, to the point where you might not even attend these events if you see that they're on the vendor list. And what you want to do is just avoid those interactions and those negative situations with one another at all possible. All right, so tip number two. Let's say you already have your first event that you're going to be going to, is to give yourself enough time to prepare ahead of the event. I know when we went into our first event, we had no idea what we were doing. We looked up a bunch of videos on TikTok, on YouTube, booth ideas, layouts. We started off with a 10 by 10 booth. So we were trying to see different layouts, but we weren't sure really of how much inventory to take. So we just kept printing stuff and taking as much as we thought. But the more inventory you take, the better. If you don't sell something, especially being 3D printed items, you just store them away and take them to your next event. Or if you do online sales, you can put those online to also be sold and shipped out as well. But I would definitely say more is better, and whatever you don't sell, you just take back with you. Because what you don't want to do is go into an event with not enough items and you sell out in the first couple of hours, or if this is a multi-day event, like the second or third day of the event, you have no inventory and your booth looks empty. You know, you want to avoid having an empty looking booth, but definitely prepare ahead of time. Most of the events that we do are indoors at our local convention center, which is about maybe 15 minutes down the road. And we've become really close with the event coordinator. So we do events there all the time. We get lucky that they allow setup for the booths sometimes 1 or 2 days ahead, depending on the size of the event. So we definitely try to take the day off before the event. If we have to work, we go and we set up. So that way the morning of, we're setting up very little things, putting out last minute inventory that was still on our printers, but giving ourselves the chance to avoid running around last minute is the best way to go about it. The other thing you could do to help with preparing ahead of time is having a checklist that basically is just a list of things that you know you need to take to each event, whether those are card readers, business cards, tablecloths, your inventory, chairs, whatever it might be that you guys need specific to your booth. Using that to make sure that you guys are checking it off as you guys are packing it up or as you guys have already taken it, because the last thing you want to do is get to the event and realize you forgot something very important, and either you have to run back, or if it's not a local event or close enough to where you could just drive back home and pick it up, then you're just going to have to make do without. Tip number 3 is in regards to the colors and the overall visual aesthetic of the table. I always say that 3D printing has so many options and variations for colors, silks, multicolors, tricolor, filaments. Multiple 3D printed items are very bright. And so the best way to go about that is bringing multiple colors of various items. But not only that, I would recommend using all black tablecloths. Some people prefer all white, but what we've noticed with all white ones is they can stain easily. Sometimes some of the customers are eating something, drop something, you might spill a drink, even water, right? But the black color lets the colors of all the items pop, and it's very visually appealing, and it usually attracts a lot of people to see what's on the table. A lot of 3D printing vendors bring, you know, various colored silk dragons, and those look beautiful, especially against the all black tablecloth. So I would recommend bringing a lot of different colored items, but also, like I said, on the tables using all black tablecloths. It's the best way, in my opinion, to have your items catch the eye of a customer just walking by. Tip number 4 is going to be easy pricing. So what I mean by that is I see a lot of 3D printing vendors that people are individually pricing different items. If that is the route you want to take, by all means, that is perfectly fine. Just make sure it's consistent. The way we price our items is we have them basically grouped in different prices. So for our minis, we'll have all the minis in baskets together, sectioned off, and we sell those for 1 for $3 or 4 for $10. So not only with easy pricing, but we also offer bundle deals. So obviously if they get 4 items, they will get it for cheaper than buying just the 1. It'll be cheaper per item once it's all said and done. But we also allow for our bigger items, it's usually 1 for $6 or 2 for $10. And when we have families, we even offer like 2 minis and 1 of the bigger items for $10, because that would be like 5 and 5. So we offer where it's like a mix and match situation, just to make it easy for the customers. One thing we've learned, and one tip that I've heard various number of times, is avoid the amount of times a customer needs to come to you and ask, hey, what's the price of this? Hey, what's the price of that? Because either they'll not like the response, or it makes for an uncomfortable interaction if they don't know how to respond, or they're like, oh, that's too pricey, or oh, that's expensive. But we do offer like group pricing. We have everything staggered in different areas, and we have little signs to try to make it as clear as possible. We really don't get the question of how much is this or how much is that, just because everything is priced out. Sometimes we do bring like oddball items, like some of our snakes. Sometimes we bring dragons, but we really rarely have any. And when we do, we'll try to price tag just those items specifically, so they're obvious as to how much their cost. But otherwise, it's just a matter of what section they're in, the pricing is there in multiple different locations. All right, tip number 5 is probably one of my favorite tips. And Jess and I learned this doing the actual event, probably after 3 or 4 events, is we actually offer a free item with every purchase. And usually what we do is we go under Zao 3D, or it's usually Zao's little minis, depending on what it is. And we'll print a full bed of maybe like 60 to 70. We'll probably print 1 or 2 full sheets of them. And everyone that makes a purchase will pop in a little free item into their bag. And usually what we say is something along the lines of, you know, with your purchase today, we're giving out this free little mini skeleton. So we're gonna add that into your bag for you free of charge. Does it cost much that we're losing out of financially? Not at all. But does it give such a nice sense of like, oh my goodness, you know, I got something for free to the customer? It does. And we usually see the customers light up. What we've also done before is items that we see, especially in our minis that are not really selling, we'll pull out of inventory to not waste them, and we'll start giving them out at our next event for free. We had some of the little Zal 3D Christmas trees with the little legs. We printed them very small, so they weren't really selling. They weren't standing up so well. So we pulled them out of inventory during our holiday craft event this past December, and we gave them out on day 1 for free with every purchase. On day 2, we did the little skeleton figures with the Santa hat, and on day 3, I don't recall what we did. I think we did the little Christmas presents with the little elf feet that come out of the bottom as well. You don't necessarily need to even do multicolor prints as a 3D printer. You know, you can do a nice silk PLA. You can even do just a regular like 2-color or tricolor filament. Doesn't need to be silk necessarily, but I think it's something that doesn't really cost us much financially, but it's such a big like, oh, I remember that table, you know, that booth gave us something for free. And a lot of the times when we're getting customers reaching back out to us about various new items or placing additional orders, they're like, yeah, you know, I was at this event and I purchased this and you guys gave me X item for free. We actually just had a customer reach out, I want to say yesterday. She bought a fidget clicker and we gave her a free little Christmas tree. And so she mentioned that, and it's things like that that make them remember your booth. And the more that they can remember you guys as a vendor to come back and be repeat customers is awesome. And it's the perfect way to continue engagement and building a community around your business. But I will say that that's probably my favorite tip out of this, and something that we just picked up on. And I think we're going to be doing that, you know, for every single event that we have, just because we enjoy it. It's not much to give back to people, but it has a huge return on just your connection with the customers, and also just, like I said, building your brand as well. All right, so tip number 6 is one that also we kind of learned as we went, and we picked up on it, and now it's something that we will never live without. For all of our purchases, we purchased these little like jewelry-esque bags, and basically we use those as little shopping bags. And because a lot of what we sell are little mini fidgets and articulated figures, they fit, I want to say, maybe anywhere between 10 to 20 in there comfortably, depending on the size. And even our bigger models fit nicely in there. Our little dog beds from PawPrint Creations fit perfectly in there as well, even with the dog in the bed. So it fits mostly all of our items. But what we learned to do is we prep ahead of time. We take all the bags and we will lay them out, like on this table, for example, the night before, and we will fill them with our business cards ahead of time for various reasons. Number 1, it ensures that every single customer leaving has a business card. So we always bag up their items, close it up, give them the items, and they're leaving with their items and a business card already in there. A lot of the times, customers will forget what booth they're at, especially at these craft fairs and these events. There's various vendors, I'm sure, that people are going to, you know, and what you want is when they get home to remember who you guys are. It also allows for when customers are just walking by, we have various areas where business cards are laid out, and we don't have to be like, oh, can I grab you a business card in the middle of like them checking out? They're like, oh no, like it's okay, it's fine, I'm in a rush. It cuts out all the middleman, and all it leaves is just the items purchased in the bag, and then the business card already in the bag to just give them up with. So we have little bags that have little felted paw prints on them that we use. So it's perfect. PawPrint Creations, it has a paw print bag, it has our business card inside, and then their items. So I recommend doing that if you have the capability to, if you guys have bags that fit. Tip number 7, this is something recent that we've been doing just because of our current layout that we have. We have one of our tables that has just like informational stuff, that has our business cards, it has various different items from our booth, and then it also has like a customization sheet, like a notice saying that we do customized items. It also shows our social media information, and then there's a notice about just like safety and, you know, hazard materials because they're small, to keep out of the reach of young children and stuff like that. And what I like about it is it's kind of an attention grabber. On that table, we have a table runner with our logo, and This is something we recently just started doing because we're starting to get 10 by 20 booths as opposed to 10 by 10 booths. We have too much inventory, and a 10 by 10 booth is no longer enough space for us. So if you guys saw our latest video, we gave a quick little booth tour of what our 10 by 20 booth looked like for the holiday craft fair. And that's pretty much the layout we're gonna go with moving forward. Unless there's some odd reason we can't get a 10 by 20 booth, or if we really just think of something else that works better. But otherwise, we really think that we've kind of, nailed layout works best for us, which is nothing traditional. There was a lot of changes that we went through in order to get to that point. But I will say that that table that we use in the middle there, if you have the space for it, if you have the means to just allow customers to get information without needing to haggle you for it, so that way they're not hovering over inventory, but then also so that way they don't feel like they have to interact. There's a lot of people that are introverted. I myself am very introverted when it comes to stuff like that. All right, tip number 8 is just dependent on what you guys are selling as a 3D printing business. But if you guys offer customization, is to have a customization sheet. So basically like the name of the customer, what they're ordering, what colors. What we've been doing is starting to bring swatches of all the different colors we offer. So you can order for Bamboo, if you use Bamboo Labs filament, the little swatches that they have on their website. But otherwise, you can just print your own with all the different filaments. And that's kind of what we're starting to learn to do, is to print our own swatches with the different filaments that we use, because we're learning to print our own swatches just because we don't only use Bamboo Labs filament, which we love, and that's a big part of what we do use. But there's various other colors and brands that we use as well. And so having that on hand for customers to kind of check through. Like for example, one big thing is we sell Cat Creations dogs and cats, and we do a lot of different colors of coats. And a lot of times we get questions on, oh, like, do you have a darker brown? Or like, oh, my dog is not black in this area, they're gray. Or not this dark gray, do you have a lighter gray? And so by having those swatches on hand, you can basically take the order. Because if you just give them a business card like, hey, get back to me later, they're like, okay, no worries. Honestly, maybe 2 times out of 10, you might actually get a call back. 1 out of 10, if you're able to get all that information and you take their info and reach out back to them, that's a much better way to guarantee a sale down the line than you waiting on the customer. So if you're able to provide them options and show them, hey, these are the different colors I have. I just don't have any in that color right now, but I'm able to do X, Y, Z. And what we normally do is when we do customizations for our dog and cat breeds, we just print a full bed of it, because even the markings on specific dogs, for example, while it might be customized to that customer, you'll realize that a lot of people will be like, oh, this looks just like my dog, or this looks just like my cat. So we don't lose money on customization, and we don't even charge extra. That's just us personally. I know we probably could and charge more to do a personalized and customized like dog fidget. What we do is have the customer send us a picture and we'll do that. But we've learned doing the events that we have, by printing a full bed of them, we still get our money's worth and they still sell. And like I said in an earlier tip, what you don't sell as a 3D printing business, you can just pack away and bring over to your next event. So you're not losing by not having it sell in the moment. You are still able to build inventory that way. All right, so tip number 9 is just try new things. When we first started our first 10 by 10 booth, actually our first event, it was a 2-day event. It was a Saturday, Sunday spring craft fair event last March or April, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was April. And we ended up having one booth style on Saturday. We ended up switching it on Sunday, and we almost switched it again in the middle of Sunday, but we left it. I think every single event since, we've tried a different booth layout. I want to say maybe 2 events back to back, we followed the same layout. But one, it really does depend on space. The second is we have been doing mainly indoor events. We've learned that we really enjoy indoor events, to not have to fight with the weather, to not have to fight with the heat. We learned at the one event, well, a couple events we did outdoors, but one of the events we did outdoors, we had a bunch of items that were in the sun and they started shrinking, So it just depends on your situation, but try new things. Don't be afraid to try a new booth style. Don't be afraid to try new items. We've brought items that we thought were going to sell and be major hits that weren't, or things that we thought weren't going to sell were our top selling item for that event. So it just depends, with the demographic that you have, the actual event, like is it just an arts and crafts show? We've done a lot of pet shows. We've done holiday themed ones. We've done Halloween, Christmas. So it just depends what you're doing. Like I said, we went to a strawberry event where we printed a bunch of strawberry different like minis and figures. Those sold really well because people go out looking for strawberry themed items. So it's just dependent on the event that you're doing, but don't be afraid to bring new items. The other thing is don't be afraid to try different pricing models. How we got to our 1 for 3 or 4 for 10 or 1 for 6, 2 for 10, mix and match. It took a lot of trial and error. We were pricing things too low, then we felt like we were pricing things too high. And we had various different pricing amongst different items in our booth. And we realized quickly, like, the more we can simplify it for the customer, one, the easier it is for them, two, less questions that they feel they need to ask. Because sometimes if a customer feels like they need to ask too many questions, they're just gonna be like, you know what, like, this is too much for me, like, I'm just gonna head out. So you wanna avoid that. But don't be afraid to try new things, you know? Sometimes you'll fail. We've done an event where we made, I think after the cost of our booth, we made maybe $30. But from that event, we had a $450 custom order for some dog fidget keychains. And our best event that we did this past December, we made $4,500 in those 3 days, which is gonna be a video that we'll do as well. I've been meaning to do it. I just haven't had time with work, but that's a video all on its own that we'll go over how that event went and, you know, how everything came up to us having a really, really good event and, you know, selling as much as we did. But like I said, it's all trial and error. We're still in our first year of doing this and we're gonna continue. We have a few events already set up for 2025 and some that we haven't done, some that we're gonna be going again for the second time. So we're excited, but don't be afraid to try different things. So for tip number 10, just have fun. You know, you're in there. Most of everybody that's into 3D printing enjoys it very much. Whether you design your own models, you know, we have a lot of Patreons. I wanna say we have anywhere between 15 to 20 different Patreon subscriptions. So we probably should be cutting back on what we have and what we don't have to kind of save ourselves in the financial realm of that. But anyways, you know, have fun with what you're doing, you know, meet people. I have a lot of people that come in and inquire about what 3D printing looks like, or they're like, hey, what kind of 3D printer do you have? I'm pretty sure you have a Bamboo Labs because all of our stuff are multicolored. You know, we talk about the waste, you know, people ask about, you know, what they've printed. They ask questions sometimes about, hey, do you know how to do this, how to do that? At our last event, I got in touch with a gentleman that does a summer like engineering club with kids, and they're teaching how to use CAD software. I don't know how to design on my own, but I've been trying to get into Nomad Sculpt with, you know, 3D modeling with the iPad Pro, and then even just, you know, using more Tinkercad and trying to make my own items and such. But there's a lot of connections to be built, you know. Jess and I could talk about 3D printing for hours and days on end. So we enjoy it a lot when we do these events because we're able to connect with people that have similar interests. And sometimes people just don't know what 3D printing is. You know, we have various videos saved on our phone of items being printed, showing them layer by layer. We debated on taking like an A1 Mini, like buying an A1 Mini and taking it to events to do like a live in-person print. But as we continue to build our inventory in our booth, we just really don't have a designated space for it without people knocking into it. You know, it'll definitely be like a showstopper. I'm sure people will stop in and it'll attract a lot more customers, but personally, we just decided against. But anyways, like I said, just have fun, enjoy what you do, enjoy the hobby, enjoy it if you run it as a business. There's various different avenues you can take within 3D printing, and how you want to go about it is completely on you. But enjoy it, have fun, enjoy these events. It's a time to, you know, showcase your items, talk about it, have a good time, make some money. But don't be discouraged when you feel like you're not making enough money, or you feel like an event was a bust and you didn't do good, because at the end of the day, you live and you learn. If you realize that this event was not a good one, don't go to it next year, or don't sign up if they have another one later in the year with the same event coordinator. We've learned that some event coordinators do a lot better about promoting their events than others. And so we've kind of shied away from some people and hit up the same event coordinators like, hey, do you have other events? Or they're coming and reaching out to us like, hey, your booth was a big hit. Like, do you want to do this, that, the other? So at the end of the day, it is a good time. It is a time to enjoy and have a blast. So just make sure you're having a fun time with it, because there's a lot to offer. If you made it this far, guys, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for watching the video. I know it was a little bit of a long one and not the traditional vlog that you guys see all about and printing and all this other stuff. If you made it this far, drop down below what your favorite tip was from this video, or if you have another tip that I might not have mentioned, let me know down below. You know, if we have other ones that we come up with, we'll think about, you know, making another video as well as we continue on our vendor journey, you know, with different events and growing as a business, you know, that are doing these craft shows and such. Thankfully, the day of recording this, TikTok is back up and running, at least for the time being here in the US. So if you guys haven't already followed us on TikTok, follow us on TikTok, on Facebook, and we've been thinking about possibly closing down our Etsy store and really promoting our own site or our Square site. So just be on the lookout. I'm gonna have our link tree in the description below. So if you guys haven't followed us, feel free to subscribe here on our channel. We're gonna be posting more videos. And actually the format of our vlogs are gonna start being once a week, every Sunday they should be posted. The day I'm recording this is a Sunday, so I didn't get any footage throughout this week to post a vlog. So I'm gonna try to go edit this as quickly as I can, post this for today, even if it's late. But then starting this coming week, we'll be posting at least once a week with a vlog and then trying to scatter in other videos. Like I said, we have the Holiday Craft Fair event review that I wanna go over, just to go over how the event was, how we liked it, how we were able to make such a good amount of money. That was our best event, obviously, by far for the year. I also want to do another video recapping all of our events that we did throughout the year of 2024. I want to do a video of any future events that we have signed up for so far this year for 2025 and kind of our goals for 2025 for the business and where we want to be at. So if those are things you're interested in, please feel free to subscribe and follow us and check us out. But again, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time.